How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Nerdy Jock Talk. I am so pumped to finally be doing this. Clearly, we are a bit under construction with this channel, as well as the whole concept of this thing that we're doing. I mean, you can kind of see behind me, it's a bit of a blank board, but that's okay. We're just starting this, and we're going to have a go. So this week in sports, in the nerd culture, if you will, has been pretty awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about hockey for sure, North Division, some things going on there. We're going to talk a bit about that fight briefly, and then we're going to talk some F1 because that was an epic race on Sunday, and I am so pumped that this year has gotten off to such a great start. Two really incredible races back to back. So we're going to get into that, and then we're going to get into some D&D and just a little introduction to hopefully some of you who maybe Jocks haven't started or tried D&D. Just going to kind of introduce it to you a little bit as well. So that's what we're going to do. First, we're going to start off. I guess I kind of do have to talk about that Jake Paul, Ben Askren fight. Actually, it started off as Ben Askew, which, should have just been the entire warning sign that we needed. So yeah, a little bit on that fight. That's it. Moving on. Okay. Sunday. What a race. F1 has given us two incredible races. I mean, this one at the historic Imola was absolutely phenomenal. It started off obviously as a technical track, narrow, very difficult to drive in, and then it just got wet, which means incredible racing usually for fans. So that was unbelievable. And quite frankly, I think Verstappen, I'm going to make a prediction here, but I think he's got it this year. I think this is the year that he's going to break through. Although, I mean, Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton. If you saw what he did on Sunday, which was, ridiculous. Yes, he gets off to a bad start. Verstappen passes him, a little bit of damage. Obviously, that throws him off. He ends up down in 8th at one point, and battles his way back and gets on the second step of the podium. Are you kidding me? I mean, it is unreal to be able to watch greatness live and not just read about it in a book or watch, video of it. Because quite frankly, a lot of the Schumacher stuff that I've been watching, I didn't really get to see a lot of that live. So to watch Lewis Hamilton do what he's doing right now has been incredible. But I really think that this year, especially if you've watched the Netflix Drive to Survive, and you're really starting to get into F1, this is such a great year to dive in because there's a little competition now. Obviously, it was Lewis Hamilton's show the last few years and really Mercedes' show the last few years. But now it's like, okay, we've got a little something going on here. Red Bull now with Checo in that second seat. I don't know what it is about Red Bull, but it feels like they've just built a car for Max Verstappen to drive and nobody else can drive it. So hopefully Checo can get his stuff together and really perform in that car, because without him, I don't think Red Bull's got a shot at winning that Constructors' Championship. But like I said, my prediction, I think Verstappen breaks through this year. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton is still great, and we'll see. But it's going to be super, super fun to watch. Moving in to hockey, oh my sweet Jesus. Let's talk about the North Division because I'm Canadian, we're in Canada. Hopefully a bunch of Canadians can see this. But the North Division, we were so pumped at the beginning of the year. It was going to be an all-Canadian division. It was all Canada all the time. Hoorah-rah. And then it's happened, and oh my God, I really wish it didn't. It's just too much. It's too much of the same blah. And quite frankly, I think it's because the division's not very good. I mean, if you look at the teams that are in it, how many of them made the playoffs last year? How many of them would even make the playoffs this year? I honestly think maybe two, to be honest. Yes, the Leafs are the reigning kings right now of this division. No question. They've lost, 4 in a row, losing that one to Vancouver, who had been off for a month with COVID. Like, wow. But again, goaltending, what are you going to do? So, but like I said, moving back into this, I really just don't think the division is very good. Now, saying that, I think the Leafs can make the Eastern Conference final. If they don't, I think it's an abject failure of a year, quite frankly. But they are good enough to get there. Getting any further? No, I don't see it. Here's why. They have Matthews, they got Marner, and they got Hyman. Great. John Tavares starting to maybe pick up. We'll see. Have the additions been enough? I don't know. Goaltending, that's kind of where that stops, right? And in the playoffs, you need that goaltending, and I just don't think they have it. And when you're looking at the other teams, and especially the teams that they're probably going to have to get through, you know, in that Eastern Conference final, whether it be Tampa Bay, whether it be Florida, like I just don't see it. It's not, you know, a slight on them, but I just don't think they've got what it takes to get, you know, any further. So because I live in this city, though, like all you hear is like Stanley Cup, and I just don't see it happening. And quite frankly, I think either Vegas or Colorado is going to have something to say about that anyway. So anyway, it'll be fun to watch. We're getting into the final stretch. Playoffs are coming. I mean, full disclosure, I am a Habs fan. It is what it is. The Habs are absolutely terrible this year. Well, they're not absolutely terrible, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. All right, moving right along, I wanted to introduce you guys to a little thing called D&D. Now, if you don't know what that is, you might not know what I'm wearing right now, but right now this is a Strong Jaw Ale from a show called Critical Role. I also have a Teldori Republic hat that's also from the show. I am a huge D&D fan, and during this whole lockdown, Critical Role is basically a bunch of nerdy voice actors who sit down and play D&D, and we get to watch. And Matt Mercer, who is the DM there, is an incredible storyteller, and I think his players are incredible as well. And they allow that story that he weaves to kind of envelop them, and they become a part of it, and their characters just kind of move through it. And it's great fun. It's such a creative outlet that they get to sort of express, and it was something that really inspired me. And especially, I think it was Travis Willingham that got me even doing this, because he is that prototypical sort of jock nerd. And I watched him, and he completely sort of changed my view on a lot of different things, that you didn't have to be one or the other. You could be the two things at the same time. So that's why I started this. So big ups to Travis Willingham. But we're going to show you a little bit here on what you need to get started with D&D. Now, obviously, you're going to need somebody to run the story. But if you don't have somebody to run the story, it doesn't mean you can't run the story yourself. There are a bunch of different guides that are pre-written stories that you can grab and just have some friends come over and knock these things out. But the first thing you're going to need is the Player's Handbook. Now, the Player's Handbook is going to let you do a couple things. It's going to let you create a character. It's going to kind of give you some of the rules, some of the background stuff of different races, different classes in here. So if you want to be a dwarf and you want to not just be a fighter, but you want to be somebody who, might heal the group, or maybe is a little bit sly, a little bit sneaky. Maybe there's elements of your personality that you want to put in here, and maybe you're a little greasy every now and then. You can do that with different classes in here. You can be a rogue, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool, really fun, but that you're definitely going to need that. The second book you're going to need is the Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, the Dungeon Master's Guide is basically helps you run the game. It's going to give you all of the little things that you're going to need to help a game move along. So different costs of different items. It really helps you sort of build the world that you want to play in. And, it's a great tool, even if you're brand new. Now, everybody always says, read the book, like read the whole thing. Forget it. I haven't read it cover to cover. Pick out what you need. Just get going. Just get started. You'll figure it out along the way, because quite frankly, if you're just in it to have fun, just have fun. Like, that's the great thing. This is a game that you can't win, but you also can't really lose either. Now, characters die for sure, but you get to make another one. It's fantastic. It's awesome. Now, the last thing you're going to need is you're going to need to populate that world with some monsters. So the Monsters Guide, again, super important. It's got some great little monsters in here, and sometimes I like to kind of go through it and really take into account what the players that I'm playing with, because I actually DM my own game with a couple of friends, and sometimes there are certain monsters I think just mesh well with my players, and what maybe scares them or what maybe, you know, they think is cool, and you start throwing that in. And so this is a great tool to help you do that. So it's got some great stuff. I mean, obviously that big beholder on the front, I just threw that at my players the other night. Super fun. Always good when somebody who's actually playing with you knows the game a little bit and the other two don't, so that when this thing shows up, the guy who knows that, like, run, and the other two are like, what are you talking about? We can beat this thing. It's awesome. So super fun. And of course, last thing you need some dice. That's, you know, because it's all about dice rolling. And then if you can get your hands on it, if you get the right little set, obviously this one here is like, it's a Howdy Doody set. It's got some foil and stuff, but this is the DM screen, and I'm talking into it and it's being echoing, but it's okay. It's super awesome, really nice. And for those that are DMing for the first time, it has some great info on the back. So you can actually see, it actually helps you out with, you know, different services that you might need, what things are going to cost. It's got some great info. And then also combat as well. It'll tell you some different, it's a quick reference guide. And that helps me a lot, especially because I really had never DM'd before this. So I never had to worry about the rules. I just kind of was like, I'm going to do this. And the DM was like, all right, you can try. And you just sort of went from there. Whereas now, you know, things are a little bit different. My players are like, I want to do this. And I go, oh, Christ, can you? So that's super helpful with this, and it kind of gets you along. Now, that's a really quick how-to getting into it. We'll get maybe more in depth if you guys want. Definitely leave a comment under this video if you guys want to get more in depth with a couple of things. How I do things is obviously way different than how some other people do things. Definitely check out Critical Role as well if you guys just want to kind of understand how the game can kind of work. Because they just do it and they just have fun doing it. And sometimes the rules get thrown out the window. It just happens. But as long as your players are having fun, you're having fun, it's great. Also, there are great tools out there, especially now because of this pandemic. We can't all be together. There's some great tools out there to help you. D&D Beyond is a great resource that I use with my players in my game, and allows kind of everything to be at your fingertips. Does a lot of the work for you. Some people, I mean, even myself included in this, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, no, pencil, paper, yes, this is what we have to do. Write it down, erase it, write it again. That can be a real pain in the butt to keep track of. Paper gets destroyed. D&D Beyond helps you keep everything organized. And for new DMs, it is essential. It can help you, you know, plan out different encounters, all kinds of stuff. It's fantastic. And then there's, you know, programs like Roll20, which allows you to, you know, play those minis as well and be on online with your friends and still, you know, interact with them, and something, have like a board and whatnot too. I mean, I've got some interesting stuff once we get back together, and I'm sure it's around the corner. I've got some really cool stuff for my players to hit the table and play with. But this is just one. There are a ton of tabletop role-playing games. I play another one called V&V, which is Villains and Vigilantes. It's more of a superhero game. Really kind of neat, but a little bit more complex. I always would say maybe try some D&D first and then kind of grow from there, because, you know, we all want to be the hero of our own story. And I think this is a great creative way to do that. And so give it a try. Check it out. It's awesome. I hope that helps. And you know, if it does, let me know. If you want to hear more about it, you want me to go more in depth on a couple things, again, leave a comment, let me know. Other news in the Nerdverse. I got this on my Twitter the other day that Amazon is looking to do a Lord of the Rings series. And it was going to cost them something like $500,000. Or no, $500 million. 500 million. Jesus. And I looked at that and I went, oh my God, spend it. Just spend it. I mean, you got that money. Spend it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. We all want to see it anyway. Get it done. Jeff Bezos, get that cash money flowing. I mean, it would be awesome. And I don't know if they're still going to do it. I really hope they will. I'm going to try and keep track of it. You guys try and keep track of it. Let me know if I'm completely off base, which is totally cool. And we'll just sort of go from there. Last but not least, I am going to, at some point, start a Twitch, and we're going to play some old school games, some Super Nintendo games. You know, the games that you can't actually save every 5 minutes, that, you know, you're halfway through the game, you're trying to get to that save point and it doesn't happen, you have to start at the beginning. Those kind of games. We're going to try and do some of that, and I think it will be fun. And so let me know kind of what games you might want to see there as well. I know Donkey Kong, I think, is the first one I really want to do because I loved that game growing up. So I do want to do that one, and then we're going to kind of go from there. But yeah, this is it, guys. I'm going to end this video here. I am so glad you guys hopefully stuck around all the way to the end. Do me a favor. Hit that like button if you like this. Hit the subscribe if you want to hear about my videos popping up first and want to hang out and do more of this. Like I said, I want some suggestions from you guys, and we'll go from there. I think it'll be super fun. I'm pumped for this. I'm so excited to finally be doing it. Got my Strong Jaw Ale, got my Taldora Republic. It's going to be awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here. And remember, it is always game time. Let's go, baby!